We also want to remind you that the BYU Family History Library has missionaries available for free consultations Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. and on Friday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. That's all Mountain Standard Time. Today's class is offered to the general public by the BYU Family History Library. To those of you who have experienced issues with visiting and revisiting sources, losing track of sources, and becoming distracted from research goals, this presentation is for you. I am one who has difficulty in every one of those areas of concern, so I'm really looking forward to this presentation. Our presenter is Richard Miller, who has developed Goldie May. Goldie May is an app designed to help us effectively research and stay organized, which is a very, very valuable couple of goals. We'll turn the time now over to Richard for his class. Thanks, Richard. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Hey, that was a great introduction to the need behind this. So I'm really grateful to have this opportunity to speak because I've seen many videos from the BYU Family History Library YouTube channel. So I've learned a lot from James Tanner and Catherine Grant and others. So it's so great to be here. So thank you. And yes, I'm a software developer developing Goldie May. And the background is that I worked at 3 family history companies and technology roles before, but I never did much genealogy research. So I was helping to bring records online, but didn't know much about research myself. But then as I got into research more recently in the last few years, I've just seen, wow, I could maybe do something to help myself in this area or that area. And one of those is staying organized and logging my research. So today I'll show Goldie May, the free version of Goldie May. Everything you see today is free, and it includes features that help you stay organized and with project management, and also a research log that should take some of the pain out of research logs. They can be really tedious if you have to copy and paste every link you visit into a spreadsheet or something like that. But I'm hoping to show you that it doesn't have to be as tedious or as painful. So that's the plan for today. And I will just open up, I'll just share my screen here to get started. All right, so to get started with Goldie May, you'd go to goldiemay.com and you'll see a big gold button to install Goldie May for free. You'll click that and you'll be taken to the Chrome web store where you can install Chrome extensions. And so then you'll choose this add to Chrome, the blue button there, and then you'll give permission to add the extension to your browser. And then this, you may have noticed it appeared at the top right. It says Goldie May has been added to Chrome. This page can be a little confusing because it shows all these other icons and things, but you've done what you need to do by installing the Chrome extension in Chrome. And if you go in this little jigsaw puzzle piece up in the corner, you'll see Goldie May's there. You can choose to pin the icon up in your menu bar. So if you hit the little thumbtack, Goldie May's icon appears there in your browser. And so that's how you get it installed. And then you click the button to open it. And it says, please sign in with Family Search. So I'll sign in with Family Search, and it says, please give Goldie May permission to access your Family Search tree. Goldie May doesn't, when you give access to your Family Search tree, it doesn't kind of suck all the people out of your tree and start keeping a copy of everything on Goldie May. It's just to later down the road when you want to choose an individual to work on it, Goldie May has access to do that. So I also like to just pull this window a little bit wider and then make the main window a little bit narrower. So what you're seeing here is two windows, right? So you've got Family Search open on the left and in this window, and then Goldie May open on the right. And the idea with Goldie May is that it wants to be a research assistant for you. So as you're doing your research on Family Search, on Ancestry and elsewhere, Goldie May's window is off to the side and provides auxiliary tools to help you do your research. So I think of it as a research assistant, or also a place for your work in progress. It's not another tree program where you're syncing your data between them or something like that. It's intended to help you keep your data on the tree you already have, like Family Search or Ancestry, and then give you tools to help do the research as you go. So we'll talk today about projects and the research log. And then at the end of the presentation, for maybe the last 10 minutes, I'll talk about this census activity, which I think is kind of a fun thing to look at on the Family Search tree. So that's the agenda for today. And I don't have the chat window open. So if anyone wants to chime in with a question, maybe one of the moderators, the host, can tell me there's a question or pause me at a certain time, or we can take all the questions at the end.
There is one question. Can you
Sure.
add the extension to Firefox as well as Chrome?
Good question. Not yet. I'm considering it, but at the moment it only works with Chrome or Chrome-based browsers. So there are a few other Chrome-based browsers like Microsoft Edge or Brave that would also work, but Firefox not yet.
And will it work with Roots Magic?
Roots Magic is desktop family history software, so it doesn't synchronize or doesn't work with the tree portion of Roots Magic. But if you want to keep a research log of the historical records you search for, then it does work in that sense, because even if you're working with a desktop program like Roots Magic, you'll be performing your record searches on Ancestry or Family Search or other record providers, even if you're not using their trees. And so you can use the Goldie May research log to record those searches for records. So I can, if that doesn't make sense by the end of the conversation, let's ask me and I'll clarify that as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you and yeah, feel free to pause me as we go. So I'll just, what I'm gonna look at today is an ancestor of my wife who named America Jane Overland. She was born in Kentucky. She lived in Nauvoo, Illinois. Then she crossed the plains as a pioneer to Utah and died in Wallsburg, Utah. And she has 44 sources and is well researched. But as you go to look at her parents, like William and Maria has 0 sources and William has 2, and the 2 aren't great. If I open up Maria, she does have some information in the tree for her. So born in Louisville, Kentucky, and has birth and death years, but we don't really see a lot of evidence for that information. So it's kind of an end of line situation where I'd love to know much more about Maria, who we have a Wilson as her father, but maybe that was just because her maiden name is Wilson. And we just don't know kind of really anything more about her line. And so that's something I would love to figure out more. And so I'll use her as maybe a case study as we talk about Goldie May today, see if we can extend her line back. Okay, so I'm going to go to Goldie May and choose new project. And there's a title of the project, and this is the goal you have for the project. So anything you've learned about goals in the past, like SMART goals, the acronym of SMART, where you want to choose something measurable and attainable and time bound. I'm forgetting a couple of those. Any of those things you might want to apply here to your project goal or your project title, because it's often overwhelming to think of, I need to do my genealogy as this kind of large thing. But if you can break it into small pieces and say, I just want to make one little step of progress on this person on this line and see what I can do, then that's a good way to think about a project and keep yourself focused. So that's one of the main things we want to focus on here, is that by bringing some attention to the project we're working on, keeping it front and foremost in our mind, then that will help our genealogy to go better. So maybe a title that I might want here is to confirm Maria's existing sources and look for one new one, right? So maybe I'm not saying I need lots of sources, but what if I can find just one more source for Maria and just find out what we already know and go from there. That'll be my title for the project today. Okay, so there's a place to put details and notes. I'll come back to that in a minute, but it can just be kind of a scratch pad of things you're working on in the project. I like to put the place that I'm working in. So inevitably, if you're wanting to find something new, find a new source for Maria, then we're going to have to look at where did she live, where did her children live, and we're kind of narrowed down to certain places. I like to put that place into the notes so that it's really clear to me that I want to focus on that area. I don't want to put Maria, maiden name was Wilson, Maria Wilson, into Family Search as general search and expect to find something specific to her. It's just too common of a name. But if I can remember what place I'm in, then I'll focus on collections that appear in that place, and that's really helpful to the research too. Okay, so that is that's the title and the notes. Now I want to show you that you can put you can grab a family search ID like that, copy it over to the right and enter it into Goldie May. And then you're associating that person with the project. You don't have to do this, but if you do it, then you get a few more options for data around that person. This, for example, will be a place where if you're using Ancestry, not Family Search, or if you're using Roots Magic, then maybe you're not using a Family Search ID and you can't put that in there. So you can still take advantage of the other features. But if you use a Family Search ID, then you get these information tabs. So let me show you these. This is pulling in data from the tree, showing her America Jane's birth and death. And then it shows her spouses, her children, her parents. And these are kind of quick links to get back to any of these people. So you can imagine if you've done a bunch of research, you have a lot of tabs open, and you're kind of far away from the person, having a link back to America Jane herself or any of her relatives around her is nice. The second tab I want to show you are these collection hints. So this is saying that for the period that she lived, 1824 to 1874, these census records were possibly relevant to her life. So you can see that the 1830 through 1870 census happened during her lifetime. And as you scroll over these, you see her age. So in 1850, she would have been 26. In 1860, she was 36, 1870, etc. And then these are quick links to open up those collections on Family Search or Ancestry. So if you click those, then it pops open the window to search the 1870 census. And then, you're looking for you're looking for in a much smaller haystack for that needle, because you're not looking across all of Family Search or Ancestry. You're looking in a specific collection. So those are one option for you. I'll just kind of skip around here a little bit, but if you go into you can add tasks. So say, we haven't found, if we haven't found her in the 1870 census, then we could say, look in the 1870 census. And the task list can be where you start to record all the things you want to try to kind of help look for America Jane. But there's also a place to add suggested tasks. So these, if I click this button, it adds about a dozen links. So for example, the various census records have their own tasks. You could go through and say, okay, I found her in all these census records, and those are good. For example, learn about America Jane's birthplace. Are the birth records available as early as 1824? So she's from Grayson County, Kentucky. And so we'd love to know if birth records started being kept that early in Grayson County, Kentucky. We'd love to know it. So if you click the Grayson link, it has links to the Family Search Wiki, catalog, or the Family History Guide. And I'll just open up a couple of those and let those load. So here, for example, is the Grayson County, Kentucky article on the wiki. You've probably all used the wiki. It's such a great resource. This saves you some steps. So you can just see, hey, she was born in Grayson. I want to read the Grayson article. Click, you're there. And now you can go down and say, okay, let's see, when did birth records start being kept? It was 1852. Okay, a little too late for her birth, but maybe I've checked, I know it, and I can mark that task done. And then similarly, you can go through and do that kind of search for death records, look in Wasatch County, see if there are death records kept for that county at that time. So those are the suggested tasks. You don't have to use those, of course, but those are also available. Those links are also available in the Places tab under her name. So if you go into Places, you see her birth and her death, but then it also puts the various places that she lived according to the tree. So if you know she lived in Decatur County, Iowa, you could open up the various articles for that county and search inside the catalog for that county, or Family History Guide has lots of links to the various county, various resources for each county. So that's the Places tab. I wanted to show you that. Now you can add multiple people to the project. So if I grab her mother's ID and bring it over to the project, I can add that one as well. And now I get the same resources for the mother. It's not bringing up any collection hints because it doesn't know. It knows she was born in the US. It doesn't know anything else about her, so it's not bringing up anything else. Okay, so what can we do here to, where can we go with this? We would love to find, we want to check Maria's sources. So let's do that first. I've looked ahead a little bit, and how do we know that Maria was her name? Why do we know Maria Wilson? Well, when I looked through America Jane's records, her sources, there were a few church records that mentioned her parents' names. So one of them was this one on Ancestry, and then there was another one. Let's see if I can see this one, My Heritage. So here we get mention of the father, William Overland, the mother, Maria Wilson, and then on this My Heritage record, a similar thing, William Overland, Maria Wilson. These are church records of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So they would have been contemporary to her, to America Jane's lifetime. And these are, I think, our best source of what their names are. So these ought to belong, or ought to be on the tree for the mother and father. So I'll make a task to add church records from America to her parents. So we wanted to make it clear on the profiles of the parents why they exist or where those names came from, so we could attach those sources to those profiles as well. And then where else could we go from here? We can commonly vital records mention the names of parents. So if any of the children were married at a time when marriage records were kept, or born or died at a time when records were kept, those would be records that might include the parents' names. So we could go through the children. These are the siblings of America Jane. And, we could look at who got married in a place at a time that had marriage records kept. We could go through those one by one. I'll just open these tabs up or open up these profiles in separate tabs, holding up my command key while I click. And, if I don't want to add all the siblings to the project, there is this More Tools tab, which just allows us to use some of the tools dynamically on whatever tab is open. So as I switch between tabs in the browser, it just kind of changes the information in that More Tools area. But what I could do with this is just say, okay, where did Nancy live? She lived in these various counties. I could go through each of the counties one by one and say, okay, if she was married in Spencer County, 1835, I'll go Spencer, open up the wiki, and I'm going to look in Spencer County and say, were marriage records kept at that time? And if so, can I find one for her? And does it mention her parents' names? First, really, I ought to check the sources that are already there, right? And there's a marriage record, and there's already a marriage record for her on the tree, but it doesn't mention her name. So no luck there. But that's what I would do, is just go through each of the siblings, look for any vital records that would have been kept at the right time. And it's much easier if you know that you can jump to the county wiki page for any of the counties and look really quickly whether marriage records would have been kept, or death records, et cetera. Maybe one strategy would be to go to the children and say who died the latest, because maybe that person, maybe their county is more likely to have records for their death, or the death records themselves are more, contain more information, more thorough, because it's later in history. So maybe this son Simon, died in 1880, he's the last one to die. Maybe his Marion County, Illinois, would have records for this death and had mentioned the parents. So those are some strategies I would use to look for vital records that might mention those parents, if that's our goal, to just find one more record for that mother. Okay, so let's go to the research log. So the research log is connected with the project. It's this button here. And the research log has, we have no research log for this project yet, but to start a research log, you just click this gold button, log page, and then you've just added the page you're seeing on the left into the log on the right. So you see the title there, you see the URL, and there's various buttons you can use. But that was it. We didn't have to copy and paste anything. It's because Goldie May is running in your browser, then it knows what page you're looking at, and then you can log that page really easily. If you want to change the title, if the title needs a little more description in your opinion. You can edit the title. If you click the link, it will open back up. So, importantly, if you've logged several pages and those are long gone from your browser, you can click any of the links in your log to bring them back. And that ends up being helpful. And then last of all, I want to just turn on automatic logging. So this is the idea that I don't need to even click the log page button anymore. If I just visit any link in my browser, even Google, anything even unrelated to genealogy, it will just log that page to the log. So just as we're browsing here over the next few minutes of this presentation, you'll see more and more links appear in that research log because we've done that. And then the metadata, there's some options here to like a page or dislike a page. Why would you dislike a page? Maybe that's a negative result. So, if you accidentally log something you don't want to log, like you switched over to check your email or something, and you didn't realize your log was on, you can delete that from your log. But it's often helpful to keep something that was a negative result. So this might be the case where you were browsing some film images. So you've probably done that before in Family Search, where some source is not indexed. So you're going to have to look at each of the images page by page by page. And maybe internally, those images are alphabetized. So you're going through A, B, C, you kind of skip ahead and you get closer to, W's for Wilson. And you get to the place where Maria Wilson should appear if she's in those images and she's not there. That I would log that page where she should have appeared and then put a thumbs down saying, hey, she wasn't there, but I'm really glad that I looked and I don't want to go looking through those images again later. So that's how I use a negative result or a thumbs down.
Richard,
Yeah.
somebody is asking, remember when you were quickly bringing up all of the siblings pages?
Yeah.
How did you do that again?
Okay. So I was doing, I had the command key held down on my keyboard.
Okay. So
or it would be control on a PC.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm clicking the links here, Nancy, Tapley, Simon, Christopher. Because I'm holding that command key, then it opens these in new tabs. It would be equivalent to right clicking and choosing open link in new tab.
Okay.
That's a good question.
Thank you.
Yeah. You'll notice that it's logging all those pages though I just opened. So those are going by there. Good. That's a really good question. So the other buttons I want to show you in each of these log entries are, there's a place for an abstract. So you could imagine if we've gone to something like this church record from MyHeritage, I might want to just add my own little abstract. And I don't, and again, I'm not trying to be a place where you keep all of your research, but just enough that it's helpful to you. So if you know that this particular record is the kind of main source where it mentions the parents, then I would want to put here Father William I. Overland and Mother Maria Wilson. And I think of an abstract as something that's true to the record. You wouldn't change it to Mary just because her name was Mary. We would stay true to the text as it shows it and say that into the abstract. And that allows you to kind of glance at it quickly to see what's going on there. There's also a place to leave comments. So this could be, like on Facebook or Instagram, where you say, I really want to check this out more later, or something like that. And you can add more, multiple comments over time, and you'll see a history of those comments. And so what's the difference between an abstract and a comment? I think of an abstract as true to the record, whatever text is being shown there, whereas a comment is kind of what's your interest in it, or why is it relevant to you? That's how I would use a comment. And then you can, of course, delete the comments or delete the whole post. The last thing I want to show you related to this is the ability to take a screenshot. So if you go to the right side and choose take a screenshot, you can then draw a box around the page, any portion of the page, and it will drop a little image into your log. And so that's a way to keep, if you have handwritten parts, or even if you're looking at some part, any web page where you just want to remember a portion of it, like you found a great map that helps you distinguish kind of the boundary lines between where they're living, take a little screenshot of it, put that into your research log, and then you don't have to lose it. And then of course, if you click the link, you can go back to the full thing and grab the full record, but the screenshots are nice to help you keep a little reminder of what's going on there. So that's screenshots. The other part you might be interested in is the ability to search. So you can search for, any of the websites you visited, you could search for those, or MyHeritage. There are a few search operators. So say you've liked a couple of these, you can go up here and choose is liked, and it will just bring up the things you've liked. So you don't have to look at the whole log. You're just looking at a subset of it. And there's, is disliked, has comment. I need to publish a list of all those, but there's several options to search for various things that you've logged in your research log. And then if you do accidentally log your, you visit your email and log your email, then you could search for, something like Gmail, find everything that matches Gmail, and then go to the bottom and say, delete these entries shown above, and it would delete all the things that you accidentally logged from Gmail. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Couple more questions.
Yeah, please.
Can it also be used with Ancestry?
Yes. So the log in particular is not family history specific. So there are some features I'll show you that work specific to family history, but if you were logging recipes or any gardening or whatever, it would just log every website you visit, and you can choose what to do with it, what to keep, what to delete, etc. So yeah, it does work with Ancestry or MyHeritage. Anything you visit will be logged here as long as that log is turned on.
And then do you need your own subscription to MyHeritage and Ancestry to have the results?
Yeah, that's right. So I am using my accounts to see those. And so whatever you have access to, you'd be able to log. And if I'm logged out of MyHeritage and then I visit the link, when I click that link to open MyHeritage, and if I weren't already logged in, it would say, hey, please log in to see this record. So.
Okay. And then show us that trick one more time. How did you get the screenshot?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So you can go to, let's say, it could be any part of the page. So say I go here, I'm right clicking with my mouse and choose take a screenshot. You can zoom in on that for a second here. And then it changes the cursor to crosshairs. And so then if you bring up your cursor right here and draw a box, I clicked and then I'm still holding, and then I let go. That'll draw the yellow box, and then it brings the screenshot over in the log. So that's a good question.
That's like using the snip tool.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's like a snip tool. Instead of a file being saved to your desktop, all of this data is saved to the cloud. So, Goldie May was a software extension that you installed, but besides that, there's nothing else on your computer. So if you were to log out and go somewhere else, go to visit a friend or a family member and log into Goldie May, then boom, all your stuff comes right back up and you have your screenshots and stuff. So it's a nice way to travel with your research, because you don't have to have a thumb drive or have to copy files in between the thumb drive and the computer, because it's all inside the cloud.
So it's just saved to your name in Goldie May.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because I logged in with my family search account, it's tied to me, and no one else could see it except me because it's tied to my family search account. That's right.
Okay.
Good. Well, let's see. I'm just checking my notes here. Okay, yeah. So one thing too that's nice about the files being saved to the cloud is that you can take them to the library. And I've gone to the BYU library and other family history centers, and I'm not speaking for the library here, but usually it's been fine for me to install the Goldie May extension if it's not already on the computer, use it, and then when I'm done, uninstall it. It's not a full program. It's just a browser extension. And so I haven't run into any trouble with that when I've done that. And, my understanding is that a lot of the labs will just wipe those, if you've installed any Chrome extensions, they'll be wiped out at the end of the night anyway. So I've run into no problem where I've just said, okay, I'm going to use Goldie May while I'm at the library on a library computer, install it, log in, see all my research, and then, log out. I'll go to my you choose sign out of Goldie May and then uninstall the extension when you're done. So that's a good way where if you don't have a MyHeritage account or an Ancestry account, you could use the research log or other tools, the screenshots at the library at a Family History Center, and then save your links and screenshots, and then be able to access them anytime you're at the library. But they still kind of stay saved to your account in the cloud, and you don't have to worry about files on the computer at the library. So that's a nice thing about being able to kind of travel with your research.
Can you export it to Excel?
You can, yeah. I'm glad you said that. The images don't export yet, but I can add that later. Right now, you can choose export log as CSV, and then I'll open that up in my spreadsheet program. You'll see that take a second to open. And then, yeah, you'll see the date, the URL, and then the title, abstract, kind of all the columns that you see in the log are there. And then sometime in the future, I'll come up with a way to save all the images out as well, so you can save those if you need to.
So is there a way to sort links or put them into groups?
Good question. Yeah, in the research log itself, or while you're in Goldie May, there's no way to reorder them at the moment, but other people have asked for that. But once you have it in your spreadsheet program, then you could, let me just reopen that file that we just opened. Oh, that's a different file. Yeah, you could resort them in your spreadsheet program at the moment. That's the probably best way to do it at the moment.
And it works on a Mac.
Yeah, that's right. I'm using a Mac, but it works on a PC as well. I found you can do it a CSV export or a TSV tab separated. So I've found, I don't know, if it doesn't work in one program, then try the other format. And usually one of those two will work for your spreadsheet program. I was using, this is Apple Numbers that I opened up, but it would work in Excel. I can't remember which one works better for Excel, but one of those would work in Excel as well.
I can see there's a lot of excitement here because there's a lot of chatter.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah, please.
Questions.
Good.
So
Yeah.
One of them is there a capacity limit to how much you can put in Goldie May?
No, at the moment, there's not. I haven't seen any problems with that yet. So no limits at the moment. You can have as many projects as you want. So again, it's great to keep your projects granular, not trying to take on too much, but you can have as many projects as you want. And then within the project, yeah, your research log can be as long as you want. And that's no problem.
And then at the end, will you go back and show people how to access it and download it one more time?
Yeah, good question. I will.
Before we finish that seems to be something that people are anxious about too.
Okay, yeah, I'll come back to that. Thanks for saying that. Let's see, I'll check my notes here. Okay, so say we're back in our research and we are kind of looking through those children, and one of the counties that keeps coming up is Spencer County, Indiana. This is right across the Ohio River from Grayson County, Kentucky. And so a lot of family events happen there. And I was going to I'm going to go to the catalog. What I'll do is open up the catalog, go to Spencer County, Indiana. And say I'm researching in Spencer County, and I want to stay true to a certain place and not just do searches. I want to search in specific collections that really appear like they would help the family's research and kind of help me avoid common names or the mishaps of working with common names. So say I want to look at all these records, for example. I can right click and choose create task from link. And let me just switch over to the task list so you're seeing this happen. But this will add index to birth records, Spencer County, and the link to your task list. So then if you go through and add these ones, create task from link, you're seeing those all go in your task list. So this is a way to make sure, hey, I've looked through the catalog. I know I've looked at all the collections that might be relevant to that time and place and the events that are going on, vital records or maybe probate records. And I want to make sure I don't miss any of them. Once you start searching these, then you could spend, hours on the various collections. You want to add a task for each one of those. So you don't lose track of any of those. And then when you're ready to get started on those, you'd click the link and it opens up that collection, and then you're off to the races. So that's one way to go through and check those one by one. And then if you've concluded that, they are or aren't a fit for your family, then you can mark those tasks done. And one other thing I want to show you too is that back on the research log, there's a little line here that says family search restricted images. So you've seen this key before probably, where you got to click and open the images and it says, hey, you got to access the site from the Family History Library or Family History Center. And so you can't get to it from home. I'm at home right now. That's a bummer. You'd like to be able to see those images. Well, now Goldie May will track which of those pages contain that padlock icon saying you can't get to them, and it will just keep those in the log. So one thing that you could do is go to the Family History Library or the Family History Center closest to you, and then type in is restricted. That will just filter down to the collections that are restricted. So now you're at the library. Now you're seeing just the ones you couldn't see from home. You can click the link, open it up, and this time it won't say sorry, you'll see the images. So that's one way to kind of collect all the things that you couldn't see at home. Then you go to your nearest Family History Center, open up the page, and boom, you're seeing those images, and you can go through one by one. And then you can use the tools we talked about before, like you get to image 300 or 1000 or whatever, and you found your person or you didn't, and then you mark that, you log that as a thumbs up or a heart or a thumbs down, and that helps you do your research from the library too. So and I want to point out too that right now we're filtering by that one project, but if you switch the filter to all research logs, and then you say is restricted again, well, now we're looking at the restricted images across all your projects. So you don't have to drill into each project one by one and check the restricted images. You can look at all of your research logs globally, and then go one by one through each of the restricted images and see if you find your person. So that's one I'm excited about to help me take advantage of going to the family history centers or the library and being able to use those collections that are only available there. If a collection is available at home, then I might as well be at home, but I might as well take advantage of the ones that are specific to the library when I'm at the library. So that's the feature to help with that goal. Okay, say I was at the library, then I would just log out at the end, sign out, and then close the window, sign out of Family Search, and then I could go home. That's that goal. So okay, so I think that's a good stopping point for me to kind of having gone over the various features of the projects and research log. Are there any other questions in those areas? We could always come back to the questions too. I want to just kind of switch gears to this census activity.
There are a few questions. Can you demo how Goldie May shows you visited a record before?
Yeah, okay. So at the moment, you could, if you're back on a page, say you're back on this MyHeritage page, and you're not seeing it at the top here. You could choose log this page, and it'll bring it back up to the top, and you'd see. Let me switch back into that project actually like that, and then I'll choose log page. So here you're seeing that page again. So if I had those comments that I wrote previously came back to the top, and you're seeing a 4 here because that means that it's been logged 4 times in your log. If I hover over that, you'll see the different dates and times of when I visited that page. So if you know what page you're curious about, you're wondering, did I log this page or have I been here before? Then you'd want to just log it again, and then you'd see it pop to the top of your log, and then you could see any comments you've left before. If you don't know which page you're looking for, then you'd have to just search or browse for it. So you could either search here in the search box, or you could just paginate through the pages and see if you see the one you're looking for. Does that answer the question?
For me, there are a couple of
Yeah.
Are your research log entries linked in any way to the tasks they were associated with? For example, can you pull up the log entries for a completed task?
Oh, that's a good question. No, at the moment, no. it's something I've thought a little bit about. I've kind of wondered if, or I thought it'd be nice if I could go into a page and, if I had heart, thumbs down, what if there was like a task button to kind of add to tasks, and you're kind of saying, I'm not done with this page, there's something more I need to do here. I've wondered if there's a place for more integration between those, but at the moment there's not a good thing there. I guess the best thing would be to, if you have kind of a discrete amount of work that's worth a new project, you could create a new project and keep that separate research log under that project. And maybe there's a fine line, or there's a blurry line between what's a project and what's a task. But at the moment, you'd have to separate these into separate projects to use separate logs.
So there's one more question. It says, if you have it already in your task list, or you saved it as a dislike, and you go to it again, will Goldie May tell you that right away so you don't duplicate your efforts?
At the moment, you'd have to, if you go back to a page like this one, you'd have to, let me just, I have automatic logging turned on. So if I'll refresh this page on the left as if I had just visited it again, it would pop up to the top of my log again. And I would see that brand new. So I don't know if that's exactly the question being asked, but you'd probably want to just either have automatic logging turned on and then visit the page again, or choose log this page when it's already open, and you would see that entry come back to the top, and then you could see your thumbs up, thumbs down, and your comments, and see if that's like something you want to see if you've answered your question already or not. Yeah,
it sounds to me like you got to make sure that you've put the thumbs up or thumbs down if you want to cue yourself.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. You want to say this is, good page, bad page, or whatever, but then at the moment, that's a little bit separate from, what's my task list. Like I can mark those done when I consider them done, but they're not exactly tied to the thumbs up, thumbs down kind of stuff.
So how do you mark something completed?
So that is on the projects page down under tasks. You can just mark something completed with that little checkbox, and then it kind of gets dimmer, turns kind of a light gray. And so I could, if I've looked at those collections, I could mark those done. If you really want them gone, you could delete them. So if if they weren't helpful, or for whatever reason you want to delete them, you can do that too.
But just to say that I found it and I was successful, but it's still there. Is there a way to mark it that way?
Yeah, let's see. I guess you could say, you could edit the task. So you could say, you could go here in the title and say, found it, something like that, where you got the link to the thing you searched, and you say that task was successful. Whereas, you could say no luck on the next one, and then kind of keep notes here in your task list to what happened there.
And on the project itself?
And sorry, on the
project itself, was there a way to say I've finished this project?
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay. No, there's not. That's a good idea, because maybe at some point you want to be able to archive an entire project and just hide it away or something. Yeah, right now there's not a way to do that. You can delete it. That might not be what you want, but archiving sounds like a really good feature.
Okay, there are a few other questions. I'm going to hold them till toward the end so that you can do the piece.
Yeah.
That they are having to do with getting it started and making sure I'm in it.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I'll come back to those and kind of show the install process. Okay, so let me just do this last activity. I call this activity, find women ancestors in the 1900 and 1910 US Census. So we'll open up the family tree. Okay. So it says the 1900 and 1910 US censuses asked women a unique question: how many children have you had? And it also asked them how many of those children are still living. And so this is an activity to walk through the steps of looking at that with your, with a given person. So let me go down to America Jane. Let's go to, oops. So what it's wanting to do here is pull up, let me pull it up a different person instead. See if I have a better family member to work with here. Let's pull up her tree. Okay, so when you pull up this activity, what it's going to say is like, you're looking at your family search tree, and you can focus the tree on anybody you want, but then it will list all the people, all the women who were alive in 1900 and or 1910. So here, Jeanette is the only one in this tree still living in 1900 and 1910. So it suggests that I can click on her link to open up her profile. So I do that. And then it says, Jeanette Hazelton lived during these censuses, which asked women this, how many children they've had. Her response may be different from what you see in the tree. So it first says, find Jeanette Hazelton in the 1900 census. Now Goldie May's trying to tell what sources she already has, and it's not finding a 1900 census. She may have one and it just kind of missed it. But in this case, it missed it. It's saying first find her, but I think she's already here. But in the case of the 1910 census, it's saying, we found her. Now, why don't you go look at the 1910 census and see how many children she said she had. So I'll open up this. Oh, that didn't work, did it? That's got the wrong link. Let me go back here. Yeah, that's not working. So I'll just tell you about it here. It will open up the 1910 census record, and then it'll suggest to you that you can go browse into the record. And the 1900 census has those 2 questions indexed, but the 1910 census does not have those 2 questions indexed. So in the 1910, you need to click on the image, and then you go down and find Jeanette, and you'd scroll over and say, how many children did she say were born to her? And in this case, Jeanette said 7. I could pull it up here. And she said 6 are still living. So let me just pull up Jeanette, see what I'm talking about here. Jeanette Wilson. Okay, yeah. So I scroll over to these columns, and this first one, the 7, is how many children have you had? And the second one is how many of those children are still living? And this is 1910. 10 years earlier in 1900, Jeanette answered 6 and 6. And so she was, she's 79 here. She would have been 69 in the previous census. She didn't have any children in between those decades, but the answers were different. So 6 total, 6 living. And then 10 years later, she said 7 total and 6 living. So Goldie May, when this is working, and I'll find out why it's not working, we'll just kind of walk you through those steps to say, hey, if you look at the tree, it says she's got 7 children. Okay, good. So if the tree shows fewer children than what she said she had on the census, it will say, hey, maybe there's a research opportunity there, because what we know about in 2022 on the tree is a little different than what she said she had back then. And then maybe if it's not the opportunity to find a child that's missing, it can also be just an opportunity to ask questions and ask what the story might be there. So in her case, why did she say 6 and 6 and then 10 years later say 7 and 6? Well, it might be that in that earlier decade, she wasn't the informant. So the census taker came to the door, asked how many children did Jeanette have, and she wasn't there. So the person answering said 6, I guess. And, that wasn't accurate. Or maybe there was something, I don't know if Jeanette was still grieving the loss of that child or wanted privacy, but it just kind of gives an opportunity to reflect about what the story might be there because of that kind of, I think it's a really cool question in the census. And so it opens the door for a cool experience when you look at how many children they've had. So I've done that with a lot of my women ancestors that were in that band that lived in 1900 and 1910, gone back and looked. And some of them the tree's accurate to the sources, and some there's opportunities to look for children. And sometimes it's just inaccurate and you can't tell why or whatever. But I think that's a fun activity to try too, to just check all those census records. So I'll check on why Goldie May is not helping right now, but when that's working, it's for me, it's a fun activity to do. Okay, so that's end of the presentation, and I'll show you reinstalling Goldie May if that's helpful, and we'll and then I can answer any other questions you have. So we'll go into extensions and remove Goldie May, and then I'll go back to goldiemay.com and choose install for free, and then here in the Chrome Web Store I choose add to Chrome. And then it appears at the top right. It kind of disappears after it first appears. So you'll click the jigsaw puzzle and choose to pin it up to your menu bar. And you'll click to open. I'm still logged into Goldie May. So if I were signed out, it would look like that. And I would choose to sign in with Family Search, and then I'm back in. I was already signed into Family Search on the left, so you didn't see me have to enter my Family Search username and password. But if I were totally signed out of Family Search on the left, then when I open up Goldie May on the right, it says, please enter your Family Search username and password, and then you come in. I think it's easier to log into Family Search on the left, and then when you go to open Goldie May on the right, it just pops right open. So that's what I do. Any other questions I can answer?
Unmute myself. There was a question about, can you create a task from the web page using Edge?
Yeah, you should. It should be the same. If you're using Edge and it doesn't behave the same as you're seeing, then let me know. My email address is at the bottom of every page. Then email me and I'll take a look at that, because it should work identical to Chrome.
So Cheryl was saying she had done it and it didn't appear on her screen, but I'm thinking it was because she didn't go to the little puzzle and pin Goldie May and then
Yeah, let's see.
there.
That might be right. And I'm trying to think too, if it's a little bit, I've done it before and it's been a while, but I think when you're in Microsoft Edge and you're on this page, you're at the Chrome Web Store, I think it might have one extra layer, because it says, hey, do you want to allow Microsoft Edge to use Chrome extensions? And then you have to say yes. And then you kind of open the door to be able to use these extensions from the Chrome Web Store. There might be an extra layer there. You could email me about that and I can take a look at that. If you're not seeing the G at all, then email me about that and I can help you get into that.
There's a question about the social media links on the bottom of the.
Yeah, go back to that. Oh, sorry, was it at the bottom of the page,
yeah,
maybe?
On the find.
Oh, okay. Yep. Yeah, there's various social media links that you can follow along or get in touch with me, or just email is fine too. I like getting email from people, so happy to.
On the find the people in the census, the activity. There was a series. You're right here. The activity. See there, you have YouTube and Facebook too.
Oh, right. So yeah, these 4 links are the same as the ones in the footer.
Okay.
But just a little more prominent on this home page. It kind of looks like that's the home page when you make it wider, but it kind of gets narrow like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I will tell people how to get to the recording again.
Okay.
And your email is richard@goldiemay.com.
That's right. Yeah. Love to hear from anybody. Welcome feedback.
I need to have him back and do the.
You are coming back in 2 weeks, remember?
Yeah, planning to come back in 2 weeks. So looking forward to that too.
We'll do a few more fun things.
Yeah, good. Yeah, well, thank you for all the questions and the opportunity to talk and present this. It's fun for me. I'm trying to build Goldie May to be the research tool I want for my own research, and I hope it's helpful to other people along the way too.
There are a lot of comments about thanking you for such awesome work.
Oh, thank you.
People excited to try it.
Good. Okay. Well, thank you. I'd love to hear your feedback. I appreciate the opportunity to talk.